Khartoum fishermen go about their morning ritual, a way of life that hasn't changed since the dawn of time. The Nile is the fluid treasure from which they get their daily sustenance. For the Hamdi family as well, the land they till, the cows they milk, are all part of the gifts of the Nile.
It's paradise. Yes, look at this. It's really paradise. Can anyone take this from us? We will die fighting to protect it. What's our life going to be without it?
But this way of life is now under threat, as the majority of the countries that make up the Nile basin battle for a greater share of the waters of the world's longest river. In 1959, Sudan and Egypt signed a treaty sharing the 74 billion cubic meters of the Nile waters that already reach their territory every year. But recently, 7 of the 8 African countries where the Nile originates have sought to put in place a new agreement annulling the Egypt-Sudan treaty. That treaty, they say, was signed under colonialism, and it took away their right of equal shares of the Nile water. Sudanese and Egyptians, however, have a different argument.
The Nile is only one of 260 rivers worldwide, and there's 140 multilateral treaties. They all say you cannot take away from any country the waters it's already using. And even before colonial treaties, didn't this river continue to flow into Sudan and Egypt since time immemorial, with the good and the bad in it, sometimes with destructive floods and sometimes with fertile soil and good life? Of course, other countries also have the right to use the water, but do they have the right to throw away this entire history?
Sudan and Egypt are the only 2 desert nations watered by the Nile. They believe it's not just about historic rights, but also about natural needs.
Why Egypt and Sudan have used the water, whereas those other countries have not? It's because those countries, thanks to their natural conditions, have abundant rainwater throughout the year, so they need less water from the river. Sudan and Egypt, in contrast, were obliged to build giant water storage projects in order to preserve the huge amounts of water that used to just flow into the Mediterranean without benefiting anybody.
Ethiopia, the source of 86% of the Nile flow, is spearheading this campaign. Ethiopians have been unofficially quoted as saying, if Arabs can sell their oil, why can't Ethiopia sell its water? Egyptians consider the flow of the Nile a red line and say the standing treaty should not be revoked. What most observers still tend to exclude, however, is the possibility of a major war over the Nile in the foreseeable future. They say the great river that has given birth to civilizations and sustained life in this region for thousands of years should never be turned into a place of destruction and death. Mohamed Vall, Jazeera, by the River Nile, Khartoum.